Hello and welcome to the Pinstripe Post. My name is Ryan Sampson. He's the star of the show, Joel Sherman. Today is Monday, April 28th. The New York Yankees take 2 out of 3 from the Toronto Blue Jays after losing a series, Joel, to the Cleveland Guardians last week. And we get to catch up here now in studio, doing this for the first time here on our new podcast set up here at the New York Post. I always ask this for you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, doing well. You know what's interesting? I was at the Yankee game on Saturday. It got rained out. I went there. The game got rained out while I was there.
Ridiculous, by the way, that they rained out.
And then I spent the whole day in Manhattan, and I didn't see any rain until like 5 o'clock. It was supposed to be a 1 o'clock game. It's always interesting when you have the look, they're using forecasts. They're trying to do the best, because the worst thing that happens then is all the fans come and sit for 2 hours, and then they postpone it. 100%. So they're trying to be good stewards. But there's nothing quite as frustrating because I'm like, I went for a walk, and I'm like, couldn't wait to play baseball today. So that's. But I avoided being at a doubleheader.
Doubleheader.
And if I was being honest, I'm watching the Yankees, I'm watching the Mets, but I'm watching 4 basketball games, especially the Knicks and Pistons. Also.
Yeah, that was a great win yesterday. Yeah. Karl Anthony Towns took over. It was definitely weird that the weather, the fact that they called that game early and we didn't get any rain really that much. And yeah, I mean, they swept the doubleheader yesterday. And I want to start, though, Joel, the news and notes that came out from Friday's game, the first game of the Blue Jays series for first pitch, the fact that Devin Williams seems to be no longer the closer here for the Yankees. You had alluded to it before the season about how you thought Devin Williams could eventually lose the closer role just because it's his first time pitching in New York, the pressure, and his performance to date has not been good. And we do wonder, how long is this going to be, and how long will Aaron Boone allow him to try and regain his confidence before they eventually try to put him back in the closer role? But it's not even May, Joel, and he's already lost his closer role. What do you make of the situation with Devin Williams now with the Yankees?
Yeah, so I made that statement because one of the things I've noticed over 4 decades of doing this is if you fight being here, it doesn't work. There's a tough place to not want to be. Sonny Gray didn't want to be here. He only told the Yankees afterwards. He actually told some Yankee officials, I lied to everyone. I actually didn't want to be here. And he didn't want to be here. And Kenny Rogers didn't want to be here. And Ed Whitson didn't want to be here. And, if you don't want to be here, it's a tough place to succeed because the noise is pretty loud here. It's not meaner. We saw that Cleveland Guardian fans could be pretty mean over the weekend, right, to Duran Duran. Like, meanness isn't unique to New York. It's just loud. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of reporters, media. So this is a tough place to kind of fight. And Aaron Boone said that I actually asked on Saturday about, I was in favor of them getting rid of the beard rule. I thought it was a rule that they could never defend if they wanted to. Nevertheless, it's something that had existed for a half century. And even though Aaron Boone said it was in the works beforehand, Devin Williams, no pun intended, became the face of it. And it just becomes an easy touchstones for fans that want to be like, oh, you want to change the rules, but you can't pitch. Like, I think the fans don't even really care about that rule, but it gives them something to punch down.
Absolutely.
Like, which I never really get, but whatever. So he was working against a lot, and he had to get off well, and he obviously hasn't gotten off well. I think the NL Central is the worst of all 6 divisions. You're coming to a tougher division. Somebody, I think I mentioned this last week, who knows the division well, says, this is not a division where there's a lot of money spent on kind of like intel, like trying to like steal signs, except like see pitch tipping, things like that. And he said the AL East there is, like, it's kind of the culture of it. So I just thought he was working against a lot. Now, having said that, I would add these 2 things. I think the Yankees are best set up if he were actually the closer, because I think you would want to use Luke Weaver as an attack dog to go get what you want to get.
At any of the best part of the lineup.
And for more than 3 outs, right? Because the Yankees, the back of their rotation in particular, are not going to give them innings. They're going to need, like, limiting Weaver to an inning begins to eat at the innings to cover well
Yeah.
if he's only doing it. So I think there's that. And I think one of the reasons Boone has not committed to the idea of Weaver being the closer is he doesn't want to kind of like suddenly have to explain. He brought him in the 6th or 7th inning. Well, he brought him in the 6th or 7th inning because it was Lindor, Soto, Alonso.
Right.
And he felt like this was the game. And then he's going to have to explain whatever. So I think he's going to do the high majority of 9th inning with a lead, but I think that he'll want to attack further. So I still think that the Yankees are set up best that way. And I brought up the name Xavier Hernandez last week when we did it, who was another guy who didn't want to be here. And it fell apart for him. And it's funny, right? So in the week since we did this, the guy actually lost his job like Xavier Hernandez did in 94. But I'll bring up another name. John Wetland in his first year with the Yankees. By the time the playoffs got around, Buck Showalter had lost faith in him. And, one of the most famous film clips in baseball history is Edgar Martinez doubling in the corner and Ken Griffey Jr. sliding in to kind of win that series. Jack McDowell's on the mound, right? He had lost faith in Wetland. He was using another starting pitcher. And the next year, Wetland comes back as the closer and wins the World Series MVP, right? Like, so this is a fickle job. Edwin Diaz's first year in New York was a disaster. His second year was one of the best seasons in Met history for a relief pitcher. Yeah. So these are fickle jobs. Devin Williams is very, very, very talented. He didn't do this by accident the last 5 years. So I don't want to dismiss the possibility that it gets better for him. Having said that, it will be very hard to get better unless he kind of accept like this. This is the beast of New York, and it's a roller coaster. It's a I brought this up when we did the podcast about Juan Soto. Right? I'm sorry, I'm rambling here a little, but I ran into a former Met over the weekend, and I was talking to him about Soto, and the guy said, "Don't forget, Piazza got off bad and got booed." And was in his walk year, and we were all asking, will he re-sign here? And then he turned into Mike Piazza. And so talented players turn out to be talented usually, but you can't fight this beast. You've got to do it. And this is not a tell fans what to do. You do what you want to do. But you know this because we've done this show for a while now. I don't think booing is a smart thing to do. Like, I don't understand. Like, if I had a bad week at work, I wouldn't want my boss booing me. I want him to be like, okay, we'll figure it out. Right. And so the fans who cheered Trey Turner in Philadelphia and the fans who cheered Juan Soto, I think that like, ultimately, you don't want, if you're a Yankee fan, you're not going to want Devin Williams to fail.
Correct.
Right? Like what's the upside of that?
No.
And so I think the first step is almost the fan step to say, hey, man, you're wearing the uniform. We want you to succeed. Can that happen? I don't know. But I think it's very, very hard to succeed here once you have the anvil in the quicksand and you're fighting the quicksand.
There's a couple things I want to respond to that. So, one, these are gladiators, pretty much to an extent. Like, these are athletes going out there performing in front of a live audience. So there is that always going to be that emotion and attachment of the fans and the diehards and how they react to it. I agree with you. There is a way, I think, if fans want to try and lift Devin Williams, and perhaps in his next time he comes into a game, whether it's in the 6th or 7th inning and it's a blowout or whatever, and Boone's trying to regain his confidence, give him a standing ovation. Get the guy going. There's other elements, too. This is a human being. First time in New York. We heard his comments, when he did get traded to the Yankees. He goes, I thought I was going to the Dodgers, right? And then he ended up being a Yankee. He is a new father. I know he was just on the paternity list. There's potential of athletes not getting great sleep. Like someone like him as a new father. You're a father. I'm sure you went through that as well, like late nights and going through that. So I sympathize on that part. And there's probably stuff going on in the personal life that we don't know about. Because when you look at the metrics for the pitches, the velocity, and the stuff, it's still – the velocity's there, but it's just not – he's getting behind counts. He's not attacking guys that you would think. The changeup doesn't look like it's moving as much as it should. Is there something you're seeing from him performance-wise that potentially could be something for them to circle around like, hey, man, you need to get that first strike more? Like, he's falling behind.
He doesn't have great fastball control.
Yeah.
So that he there's a lot of fastballs over the plate, but he's also like not getting ahead 1-0 with a fastball, which sets up his changeup, which is a devastating pitch. What I find, and I wrote about this when I wrote previous to over the weekend before it was officially announced on Sunday, I wrote on Saturday why I thought he needed to be taken out of the role. I said, the great irony of this is the Yankees have done a great job of taking talented pitchers who've had no success and turning them into Clay Holmes, Tim Hill, Luke Weaver. Ian Hamilton, etc. Like great success in recent years. Here they had the finished product, and he's pitching poorly for them. And I almost think they need to treat him like Luke Weaver.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have this great stuff. Let's kind of start over. Like, what do you need to do with this stuff? We're good at this. Will you trust us that we're good at this? And see if they could kind of reclaim him without starting with the idea of, well, he's a finished product. Because this version of him, and it's 10 outings, it's 8 innings. It's not out of the question that the next 40 innings are great.
Yeah.
If he did nothing.
I mean, it's not even May, Joel.
Right.
It's crazy.
But I think that it's been bad enough that they need. I'll say this is, I thought we could get into it later. Aaron Judge has played outrageous for a month. Max Fried's the MVP of the Yankees.
God.
Because yesterday you're pitching a doubleheader, and he's in trouble with a lot of pitches in the first inning. And he ended up, did he go 6?
Went 6.
Right? And they had a nice lead by the time.
Gave up 1 run, 3 strikeouts.
Right. And it's set up, because I was like, there's 18 innings here, and if they're in 2 games, Williams is going to have to come in and leverage.
I thought the same thing.
And so the fact that Fried helped them avoid that, where they kind of need a soft landing place for him. Like, they're on the road against the Orioles the next 3 games. Someplace when it's 7-1 one way or the other, winning or losing, that's a Devin Williams spot to begin to reclaim it. For a few, you can't hide it forever.
No.
Eventually, everyone's going to have to pitch in some leverage. Certainly a guy you thought was going to be this guy. But they need to, let's start from scratch and get back to it. John Heyman and I did our podcast. I threw out one other concept, and this is aggregator hell, as you know, because of course I'm not suggesting that there is a trade for Devin Williams, that the Yankees should trade Devin Williams, but the Yankees have an infrastructure with Weaver and Cruz and Leiter and Hill and Hamilton and Loizica beginning his rehab of a strong bullpen without him, right? Better with the best version of him. But it's not inconceivable for a team that's counting pennies and doesn't want to change it. I think, does Williams make like $7 or $8 million this year? Like, do they end up using him like between now and July 31st? Because like you could definitely believe if you're another team, oh, I bet you that guy would be great for us again. You might not get $1 for $1, but like if it's not going to work here, and we are going to find out now, the next 30 days are a curious, interesting 30 days because he'll be out of some leverage, but then he'll be back in. There's no way to avoid it. Like we see bullpens, the Met bullpen is overused already with the best starting pitching in the sport. There's no way to avoid it. You got to use all 8 guys. And so there's no hiding it. And you got to use all 8 guys in big spots.
Absolutely.
There's no hiding it. And so at some point, Williams will be thrown back in the fire. He's a very talented guy. It could work. I just think when you're fighting this bucking bronco, the New York thing, it's very hard to succeed.
Feels white knuckly, right?
Like it's just
he's grinding here. Like he's It's not gone smooth at all.
But we would have said all the same things about Edwin Diaz.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, it's not working here and then.
But this is again more the context that you were alluding to before for Devin Williams, because it's so unique. Is he came in as a rental piece for them, as the closing pitcher, the finishing piece for that bullpen. When you go into private meetings with the owner and you demand a decade-old policy to change, it
demands a strong verb.
It felt like he was going in with, because you saw, Joel, you were the first one to spot it. He didn't show up to spring training with a clean-shaven face.
No, it was obvious.
Yeah.
It was obvious, but I just want to be, we don't know what happened behind closed doors. He might have pleaded as opposed to demanded.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I.
But is that usual for players to have meetings like that? Like, hey, like.
Like, don't have an open door policy if you don't want the door open.
Yeah.
Like, and it was important. Look, this might feel frivolous to us. Mm-hmm. But if it's important to a player, like, Wade Boggs was the most bizarre player I ever covered. I mean, and he had hundreds of superstitions that he did every day. Well, that helped him get 3,000 hits into Cooperstown. So should I have really said, well, don't eat chicken, don't make this sign in the thing, don't go to stretch at exactly the same time? If Devin Williams thought that the beard is part of, it's the relievers with the crazy long hair or the Fu Manchu or what. It's part of his persona. And ultimately, I agree with him. And I agree with, like, the Yankees have no authority over his face.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And that it was a bad rule because of that. And so he just ended up being the new guy who became the face of it and then pitched badly. Yeah. So it's such an easy,
it's an easy target,
Bang.
absolutely.
And so he needed to get off well, and that's gone. So now the question is, does he get up? Because the analogy I used in the column was, like, to see him on the field and in the post game after the Friday implosion was Buster Douglas knocking down Mike Tyson and Tyson looking for his mouthpiece on the canvas. Like, he was stunned and like mentally knocked out. So they have to rebuild more than stuff here. It feels like they need to kind of like, hey man, we're not going to win it without you.
No,
like that has to be kind of the message.
You were spot on when you started this. When we started this segment was this Yankees bullpen is not better with him not being the closer because you want Luke Weaver to be your tackle.
You want to use Luke Weaver to his best. What is at this point, who knows how long it lasts, but starting from almost the beginning of the season last year, but certainly the middle of the season through the postseason to now, Luke Weaver's been one of the 5 best relief pitchers in baseball.
Hasn't given up a run this year.
And he's doing it easy.
Yeah.
Be careful. He's not Mariano Rivera, but he's doing it Rivera-esque in how easy it is. There's not even 3-ball counts on guys. Forget about walks.
Yeah.
Like, it's attack, out, 3 minutes, and they're done when he's pitching. How long that lasts, I don't know. Maybe this is who he is now, and he's going to be this is a mercurial job.
Yeah. And he's got a good attitude about it, feels like. You've interviewed Weaver.
Yeah, he's been on our pod. He's a great guy to deal with in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Great. This is who he might be for a while. And I just think that in the old days, we used to think, well, the way to make money was you had to accumulate saves. I don't believe that anymore. I think the way you make money is you pitch well. Mm-hmm. And Luke Weaver is a free agent at the end of this year. If this is him, he's going to make a lot of money because he's pitching well. And he's pitching in a job where we think most guys are high wire acts. Like, even when Diaz is good, it's a bit of a high wire act, right? Like, even when he's really good, like, there's a lot of walks, there's 3-ball count, there's deep counts. Right now, this is the most and by the way, I'll throw Tim Hill's like that also.
Yeah.
I mean, something's happening in 2 or 3 pitches with Tim Hill, usually ground balls. They really did a great job with these 2 guys.
It's crazy.
And so they have responses, but it's better if they have that lefty-righty in front of the Devin Williams, who in Milwaukee is pitching to a 1 ERA.
Yeah. It's like a blessing and a curse. I mean, you have Weaver to rely on because how good he is. But like you said, you lose that ability to put him in any part of the game.
And I don't know what he'll be when he comes back off of Tommy John surgery, but I am a fan of Jonathan Loáisiga. Mm-hmm. I think he is unafraid, and I think he has great stuff.
Yeah.
And if you told me he was getting big outs this year also at some point.
You just got to stay healthy, man.
Yeah. Like, they're in an interesting point because they're going to get more injuries. But, like, Loáisiga is in rehab. LeMahieu's in rehab. Stanton is beginning to hit on the field. They're getting Luis Hill just started his rehab. Now, again, they're going to end up with 4 more injuries. Yeah. They got to keep Judge and Fried healthy, though that's kind of like the hub guys. But they're getting a little, Schmidt is in the rotation now, which is give them this solidity. Like, he's a real major league starter.
Yeah.
And look, it's some smoke and mirrors maybe, but Carrasco's been okay.
He's been okay.
Like value is when you do it also. And I doubt Carrasco makes the season with them. But right now, he's helping them. They should have won his last start, right?
Absolutely.
Except for Devin
Friday night,
Williams.
absolutely.
They win the start. So right now, that starting pitching, that was a big conversation point between us.
Yeah.
Has Rodon has pitched better. Rodon, Schmidt, Fried, very solid. Warren's been okay.
They've settled down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Just some more context about the Yankees bullpen to what you're talking about here. ERA combined for the bullpen, 3.34. It's ninth best in the Major League Baseball. Devin Williams, 11.25. Yeah. He has 10 runs in 8 innings. The rest of the bullpen has a 2.63 ERA, which would be almost the best in baseball, if not the best in baseball. It's crazy that one aspect right there.
Their numbers in pitching are blown out by Stroman and Williams right now.
Yeah.
And by the way, I wouldn't throw away the idea of can Stroman get right and give them 5 or 6 innings of 3 or 4 runs regularly. They've got a very good offense and a very good bullpen. If he did that, if he came back and he was a good number 5 starter, he would have value to them.
Yeah.
Because again, like part of this season is, they're going to have to add a starter in July, right? That's kind of obvious at this point.
Possibly 2 starters for them.
If you could avoid having to get 2 starters in July, I know that this again will be outrageous. I am not saying I think DJ LeMahieu will be good. I am not saying I think DJ LeMahieu will be good.
Have you seen the way he's hitting in Double-A right now?
But if he is good and healthy and they don't have to spend money on a third baseman, spend collateral on a third baseman, it gives them more to go after the best starting pitcher available. So like DJ LeMahieu doesn't have to be 2019-20 DJ LeMahieu. Can he be league average field third base, play 3 times a week, especially against lefty starters, DJ LeMahieu? If he does, that is useful not only to the day-to-day, but to avoid the July trade market when you know you're going to need at least one starting pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's Double-A for DJ LeMahieu. You see the numbers, 6 for 10 to start already. Do you think? I don't know if you've seen some of the video of him hitting down there. He looks a little bit like vintage DJ. Not like you said. I'm not expecting superstar DJ, but
as big a question as anything though, Ryan, is like he was really good in the second half in 23.
Yeah,
really good. He just can't stay healthy. Yeah. Like the body is no longer allowing it. So I think even with good, the question is there durability in it? And it's why I think even if he comes back, it has to be he plays 3 or 4 days, like 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. Cabrera's done fine enough. It's actually surprising the throws have been an issue with him. But you know how I feel. I think he's a good player. Yeah. Is he a starting player? I don't know. But if they were in some share, what's interesting is he's hit lefty pitching.
I know.
This year. That kid's a worker. He worked on it in the offseason, and he's hit lefties. So the Yankees have hit lefties a lot better than I anticipated they were going to. I think they still need LeMahieu and Stanton to just raise the, that gets both Peraza and Reyes off your team. You're just like when people play this Ben Rice game that they're, well, what are you going to do with that? First of all, let's see Stanton come back. Then let's see Rice stay hot until Stanton comes back, right? And if worse comes to worse and Rice is either a AAA or you send a Scara down and he's your backup catcher, and so he's a backup catcher, he plays 2 games a week. He's the backup first baseman, he plays 1 game a week, and he's the DH once or twice a week because you don't want to play Stanton every day. You'll find if you hit in the major leagues, you play in the major leagues.
Absolutely.
It's hard to hit. The batting average is even lower. They keep changing the rules and the batting average gets worse, right? Like, trust me, if you hit, they'll find a way for you to play. So let's see that him continue to hit and Stanton get healthy. All I'm suggesting is that there is a role for LeMahieu at healthy average. Healthy average raises their floor.
Yeah, I think they'd welcome it, like you said, and it would solidify, I think, their third base defense a lot, too. Max Fried gets a ton of ground balls to third base, too, and it would help them.
Was 4th in the major leagues in ground balls to third base last year.
He's still, like, you watch him pitch, he just continuously gets a lot of guys to ground out to third. It's speaking of the lineup and speaking of hitters like Stanton, I do want to talk about hitters behind Judge here for due up, and I want to talk about Bellinger and Chisholm specifically. We have not seen Bellinger live up to what we had hoped for so far with the bat. I think defensively he's been a superstar. Some of the catches he makes in the outfield, I don't know if you saw the one in Cleveland, but I mean that was insane when Luke Weaver came in. I mean he is so gifted in the field, but the bat we haven't seen. I wonder is there?
Didn't you think the at-bats were better yesterday?
I did, but I just
Because I think a lot with him is that surprised me is if you go back and look at the last 2 years with the Cubs, he was really terrific with 2 strikes. Like he didn't strike out a lot. He was a get the ball in play, and with his speed, get it in play has great value. So the strikeouts early really, really stood out to me. I thought the at-bats were better. I think ultimately he might end up being the 7th hitter. Like in a good lineup, if other guys, like if Stanton came back, you
think they would drop him that far in the lineup?
I mean, I think it's about like who else is in your lineups, who's hitting, what is he doing, that kind of thing. I think he's a very good baseball player, and I think he'll end up being a 750 OPS guy. I do. I might be wrong about that. I still think the stadium will play to him as he kind of gets more and more comfortable at this. He obviously brings the base running and the defense of versatility in defense. I think there's still a good player in there who maybe ends up hitting lower down in the lineup, and you have a strong bottom of the lineup.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that he's affected at all by the back? I know he's sat a couple games this year.
Like it's like I didn't know the back history.
Yeah.
And yes, of course. Like because we're not seeing the ball isn't quite jumping off his bat. And like when he's been good in Chicago the last 2 years, the ball really goes off of his bat. And for a guy who we always say, oh, the exit velocities aren't great, but when he squares it up,
it goes.
And that hasn't really happened.
No. That's why I wonder, I mean, it's early season again. We haven't reached May. I'm hoping that he can turn it around. If he has a strong May, I think they might have a good solution there behind Judge. But Chad Chisholm as well. We saw him get a couple of times earlier in the season behind Judge. It's been a lot of power, but it hasn't been a lot on base. It hasn't been a lot of production with guys on base. And I know you've talked about him on the field as well defensively. He's had a bunch of miscues as of late. I don't know what's going on there. Like, do they – and let's not forget what happened a week and a half ago when he gets ejected after an at-bat. He tweets out after the game. He won his appeal for the suspension. Those two guys, though, but specifically now Jazz part, you're not getting what you hope for right now to Jazz Chisholm besides the power.
So I want to note it. The last time Will Warren started, the first batter of the game is Stephen Kwan, who floats a fly ball to left field single. Jason Dominguez hurries it and throws it into the infield. Now, I think this was a big subject last year. We talked about this all year about how do you play baseball well. It's boring to do it well over and over the right way. But I think whoever the runner is, when a ball comes into the infield on the bounce, you need to make sure the ball doesn't get by you. When it's Stephen Kwan, who later in the game will score from second on a wild pitch, and you know he's an aggressive runner, you've got to make sure that the ball doesn't trickle 1 inch away from you. You must. Now, I say that even if the catcher were running, but certainly him. Do you know Chisholm did the Glaber Torres thing and side saddled it? Now, the ball stuck. But if I were a Yankee player, coach, manager, GM, owner, whatever, I would go, we literally lost the World Series because of this play. Like, because I still think if the Yankees win Game 1 last year, you might have a different World Series. You at least are in play for it. So he does that. The next batter hits a slow ground ball that should be rushed into a double play. You got Will Warren on the mound. You're trying to save pitches. Doesn't rush it, only gets the out at second. The next guy hits a ground ball up the middle that bounces off his glove that should be a double play, right? The next inning, routine ground ball, he flat foots it, bounces it. Goldschmidt doesn't come up with it. Error. By the way, Cleveland didn't score in the first 2 innings of that game, but Will Warren threw a ton of pitches from the stretch and a ton of extra pitches. Does Will Warren give up the hits in the 6th inning? They knock him out of the game because he's wasted pitches because his veteran second baseman, who needs to be protecting his pitcher, played this game that has nothing to do with the scoreboard, nothing to do with Will Warren. I just want to note it because I've been on the same kick, which is style over substance never wins. And if somebody ever says to me, well, it's player, nobody is more GQ, stylish, making money off the field in that way than Francisco Lindor. On the field, Francisco Lindor is beautiful. Every ground ball is treated the same. Every he should go first to third. His head is in the gap. So I don't want to buy that.
No, yeah.
I don't want to buy that, you know? And so I'm just like, the Yankees are going to play for everything again this year. They're good enough to be in play for it. And this stuff will matter over the long haul. They've been better at it so far this year. I just want to note it.
Yeah, no.
I just want to note it because I was watching the game and thinking to myself, I watched a lot of this last year. By the way, pre-Chisholm. You know, there was a lot of this that had nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Right? And then he came and did a difficult thing. He tried to learn third base on the fly, got it. But he's back at his regular position. And we see him do the spectacular. But the routine has to be done well.
Yeah. He seems like a guy who does seek out, like, he's an aura guy. He is a guy that wants to be the guy, you know, he wants to be a player, an image. He loves the flash and he loves all, but like,
I get it.
I would love to see more of a complete hitter from him too. The guy has insane speed, some of the best in baseball. If he could get on base more, he could help this offense and this lineup so much more because
he's
now
the second most talented player in their lineup every day. He's the second most talented player behind Judge
you would agree,
in
though.
the lineup.
It's the top of the lineup right now. It's Rice and Grisham, whoever's leading off. You have Judge. Goldschmidt's hitting for average, not much power, but then it's nothing. It's really nothing in the middle of that lineup. And those two guys.
There's enough damage done by somebody every day to help them without consistency.
Right.
But we're seeing league-wide again, the average is in the 230s. There's a lot of teams that have a lot of guys who are hitting high ones and low twos. But the one thing you could say is a lot of the players who are doing that for the Yankees are doing it with walks and power. Mm-hmm. So they're getting something, but there's more that could clearly come. I think Austin Wells is better than a 200 hitter. Is Volpe better than a 200 hitter?
We'll get there.
I don't know what if there is. But Chisholm, even at 240, 250, because of the speed, would increase his value.
He attacks like first pitch, second pitch a lot in his.
And by the way, he is not a guy who has to swing all or nothing to get the ball out of the ballpark. He is whippy strong. There's a lot there. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot there.
Yeah, it's been frustrating, I think, for me. Like I would hope for more from him, and I sometimes when there's men on base, it feels like he's always trying to hit for the home run. I want him to be more smart with his approach. It's okay to pass the baton to the next guy in the lineup if you get on base. There's that aspect there, Joel. I just wonder, like, is the weight get to him a little bit, or is he just in his head sometimes when he's in these moments of, how am I going to make damage here?
I mean, it's hard to be more talented than Alex Rodriguez. Mm-hmm. And in Alex's time with the Yankees, you can see in a lot of situations where he thought it was, if I don't do it, we won't win. Mm-hmm. And he didn't trust the group enough, or he wanted to be the star so much that it didn't matter what he thought of the group. And I think the Yankee lineup can be a strong 1-9 lineup, much stronger than last year, for example. There's enough guys there, especially if and when they get some other guys back here.
If they get Stan back, are they going to push these guys down
I
the lineup?
assume Boone really has great faith in Stanton as not only what he could do, but the menace he presents to another team to try to attack it, and what he's able to do now by inserting lefties between Judge and Stanton will have real value. So the manager believes highly in Stanton. And, look, if you saw Stanton in the postseason, if he's in one of those places, he's Judge.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Judge is Judge because it's consistently great.
But it's game-changing
But
power.
Stanton could have 2 weeks where you're like, if you throw it in the other strike zone, it's going to go about 450.
Yeah. I want to go over to Radio Rational here. Anthony Volpe. We're in year 3 here, Joel. And my Radio Rational fan take here is I think I've seen enough. And I mean this in...
And meaning what? That you know who he is, or they
I
need
know who
another
he is.
shortstop?
I know who he is. They need another shortstop. I don't think he's the long-term answer at shortstop. I think eventually he could be slid over to second base if you want as a light-hitting second baseman. I've seen too much of him trying to change his stance, change his approach at the plate. I think he's just a light-hitting shortstop. And last week against the Guardians, you saw every single one of their pitchers had the same scouting report on him. High fastball, high fastball, high fastball. Throw your best slider or whatever you can off speed, and he's gonna go out striking out swinging. He had so many opportunities with men on base, and he couldn't come through. Everyone was promised with Anthony Volpe for his career. This is the next great shortstop. Like, this is our top prospect. He hits so well in the minors. He's gonna be a stud for us. And he's not even stealing bases well either. Some things that you think that he'd be great at. Defensively, he's still really good, but he has mishaps lately. I don't know what it is, but for me, I can't rely on Anthony Volpe long-term here as a Yankee shortstop because I just don't think you have a game-changing player. Like, I don't think he'll ever be an all-star. I don't think he'll ever be that type of player. Could he be a light-hitting shortstop? Sure. With a great defensive aspect and can steal some bases for you? Absolutely. But I don't think he's what the Yankees were hoping for, and I think we've seen enough evidence here where I just think he's a little bit overmatched here in major leagues, specifically here in New York with the Yankees. I don't think he's a long-term answer here for the Yanks.
So I think he's Dansby Swanson.
Really?
Tell me where they're different. So Dansby Swanson.
Dansby got really good in Chicago. He had his struggles early.
Not Chicago, in Atlanta.
Sorry,
right?
Well, Atlanta. Yeah.
Right. So he had his struggles early. Go look at about the first 1,300 to 1,500 plate appearances for Dansby Swanson, who, by the way, was the first overall pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Taking the pick ahead of Alex Bregman in the 2015 draft. He was a low batting average. He is. By the way, he's never changed. He's low batting average, high strikeouts, incredibly durable, great base runner, high-end defender, ended up a cornerstone player on a championship team in 21. Anthony Volpe is everything, and by the way, got a 7-year, $177 million contract because he's a good overall WAR player, as Volpe is, who's been over a 3-WAR player in each of his first 2 seasons because he's on the field.
Because of his defense.
Yeah. Base running, durability, etc. I think he's Dansby Swanson. Now, do you want, and I think that a lot of people would say Dansby Swanson early in his career, number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, he looked like a bust.
85 OPS plus. What is this? Look at all these strikeouts. And then he got a little man muscle, started hitting some home runs, got a little more consistent. But you know what Dansby Swanson's career is? 2 All-Star games, 2 Gold Gloves, MVP votes in 3 seasons, not top 10, but got some votes in 3 different seasons, cornerstone player on a championship team. I think Anthony Volpe can be Dansby Swanson. And I'm not sure that in any singular season, Dansby Swanson was one of the 5 best shortstops in baseball. But, sometimes, I would ask this question and just to flip over sports was Eli Manning ever one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL?
No, he performed in everyone knows the postseason runs are the reason why
his
legacy is
so and by the way, Anthony Volpe was terrific in the postseason last year. He's 23.
Okay.
He does some things. Remember, when he doesn't play, the shortstop would be Peraza. So, when obviously he's not Jeter. I'm just using the Jeter analogy here. I would argue with a lot of analytics people who would go, "Oh, Jeter can't do this." I go, you know, one of the things that Jeter can do though, I don't know the name of the backup shortstop. I don't know his name. Mm-hmm. When you have Volpe, you don't have to know the name of the backup shortstop. He shows up every day. He's the same guy every day. He is wildly inconsistent, as we see. It looks like he's back on a high now, right? There is no 2 weeks where he has a 700 OPS. Yeah. It's 900 and 300, it feels like. 900 and 400.
How can you live with that, though?
No, you live with it because that's what Dansby Swanson did. And the Braves won a World Series because they had Dansby Swanson, and he got a $177 million contract. The thing is, if we started naming every player in baseball, we would not get to 100 before we say that Volpe is probably in there someplace.
Really?
Yeah, because you're underselling what he actually does.
There's got to be 10 better shortstops than him.
Right, but that's the thing is, there'll be 15 shortstops in the top 100 players.
Would you take Zach Neto over him right now?
It's in the conversation, but Zach Neto hasn't stayed healthy.
I know, but now he is healthy, and now look what he's doing.
I don't know. Last I saw, it was pretty low batting average. I mean, it's not a lot of at-bats. They're in the same world. Like a couple of years ago, it looked like Matt McClain was going to be better than him. He hasn't stayed healthy. I wouldn't undersell durability and getting on the field and being like, Aaron Boone has 100 problems a day. One of them is not who's playing shortstop for the New York Yankees. So I think that the problem was Volpe was from New Jersey. He grew up a Yankee fan. He grew up a Jeter fan. It felt like a coup that they were able to sign him. Everyone felt so great that he made this kind of jump in spring training over Peraza to be the starter. And it got inflated to the point where, look, we thought offense was going to be the calling card of Francisco Alvarez and Volpe. And it turns out that so far to this moment, both guys have been better defenders than hitters. Do you still believe in Alvarez? I kind of think Alvarez is going to be a 25-homer, mid-700 OPS guy. I do. I have not given up on the idea that Volpe is going to eventually find a swing. Stop listening to 10 people and find a swing where he's a low 700 OPS guy who gets 50 to 55 extra base hits, steals 20 bases, and is on the field every day, and is Dansby. And I just described Dansby Swanson. He's Dansby Swanson. That's who he is to me. And Dansby Swanson's had a very, very good major league career. I just don't see the separation between, like a gigantic separation between the young version of both of them. This is exactly, and to the point of disappointment, because Swanson was the first overall pick and was like, is this all? Well, it's all, but it's a lot. If the ball gets hit to him, it's an out. If he's on the bases, he's a threat. He got a little man muscle as it went along. He hit some homers. He's one of the most durable players in the sport. You could count on him in a big moment. He was terrific for a championship team. Oh, is that one of the 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 best players in baseball? No, but it's pretty valuable. And I think that could be Volpe. I think that's the arc he's on.
But he's not currently, he's not there yet.
But he's actually early in his career better than Swanson was in those first 3 years. So I don't think we're not even giving him a chance to be 25 to 28 yet. Okay. Like the 25 to 28-year-old version of him, if it was 725 with 55 extra base hits in a 2020 season and borderline Gold Glove and the same durability. Now, Aaron Judge gets paid like he does because some players are great, right? But most players aren't great. But those who are above average and have durability and bring something every day, I wouldn't just say dismiss it.
You think he's above average, though?
I do. I mean, he's above average.
He's not even an average league hitter right now.
Right, but as an overall baseball player, he's an above average baseball player.
When you're taking the defensive skills and the base.
Well, everything counts, right?
Again,
remember, who's doing it if he's not?
You talking about on the team?
Yeah.
Because I would argue you can get the same defense from Peraza and you can put him in there and see what happens with the bat because you probably get just the same production.
But the people who are watching it every day, I mean, if they thought Peraza's bat would play, he'd play third base.
But I think there's a loyalty to Volpe to a fault because he was a first-round pick.
Well, the loyalty is he's durable.
They like the durability, right? But the Peraza thing I'm saying is you could get virtually the same production from him offensively and still have the same defensive production from Peraza.
Maybe.
He's a well-touted defensive prospect, Peraza, at the same time when they both came up. It's just, for me, I think I've seen enough. I know you watch way more baseball than me, but
But it's just, but my thing is, he's 23, 24 in his 1,300 plate appearances. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But this is pretty much what Dansby Swanson stayed his whole career. High strikeouts, low batting average, right? Defense, base running, durability. And it's a $177 million contract with the Cubs and a cornerstone player on a championship. And I'm telling you, if we were sitting here doing this, a webcast for the Braves 3 years into his career, you tell me I've kind of given up on Dansby Swanson, who was the first pick. We were promised something. Now he's the first pick of the Diamondbacks. He got traded to Atlanta. But come on, this is the first pick of the draft. This is the guy who's going to do it all. And it turned out he was a really valuable player for a long time. And I think that the track that Volpe is on is that track, but you're very close to it and you're very emotional about it. And I think I tell the story, and again, please do not mistake. I do not think Anthony Volpe is Bernie Williams.
No.
But Bernie Williams' first few years, there was no power there, like the first 3 years. Like, he got his man muscles at 25, 26, 27, 28. Like, he came up. There was some batting average. The base running was iffy. Like, it didn't look great look like for the guy who, this is going to be a core guy who helps the Yankees turn things around. It wasn't there. And then even when he got good, if I've told the story before on the podcast, stop me. I won't embarrass the person, but I will describe it by saying Joe Torre hated two people in the New York media group. And one of them, unfortunately, decided to ask. It was just me, this guy, and Torre in his office one day. And this guy was a Yankee fan who worked in media. And he was always upset. And he goes, Bernie Williams, he could run, but he doesn't steal bases. He doesn't do smart things. He could defend, but he's not great. I know he's won Gold Gloves, but he doesn't go back on the ball well, and he can't throw it all. And Torre, who doesn't like this guy, is just sitting like this and looking at the guy and lets him get through the whole thing. And when he finishes, and he went, yeah, like if he was anything less, all he'd just be is the cleanup hitter on a dynasty. In other words, sometimes you have to look at what a guy can do and not what they can't do. Bernie Williams, borderline Hall of Famer, who, by the way, wasn't a great base runner, who couldn't throw, who could get lost on defense. But what he did helped the Yankees win a lot of games. And I think sometimes you're close to it, Ryan.
Okay.
And it's like if Zach Neto and Anthony Volpe flip spots, you'd be like, why don't we have someone like Volpe? Kind of thing. It's like you're overestimating Zach Neto, who, by the way, is also probably one of the 100 best position players in baseball. Shortstops are great right now to the point where there's too many of them and they're all going to the outfield or other positions.
Yeah.
Right? Like guys are moving all over the place because there's too many good shortstops. And so any top 100, it is possible that Anthony Volpe could be the 15th best shortstop and 75th best position player.
At his best or currently, you're saying right now?
When he's played these last few years.
Okay.
Again, how much do you care about WAR? If you go and look at WAR, he's been an over 3 WAR player.
He's a WAR player because of his defense.
Right, but that counts also. You got to be
I
able to
know.
record outs. Dansby Swanson was a 3 WAR player because of his defense.
Call me crazy.
And his base. But I'm telling you,
more offensively for my shortstop. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
But that's not really his. So like you were saying, maybe he can move to second base. But if Jazz Chisholm was what he could be, an 800 OPS guy with 30 homers and 30 steals, then what would it matter? Is then this guy could play shortstop. Why move him to second base?
I'm saying in the future, if down the line, I don't know if shortstop's long term for because he is smaller build. I don't know if his
he might not have it, but Alex, he's built like Alex Bregman.
Yeah, he is.
Who's stuck around a pretty long time.
He's a hell of a third baseman. Absolutely.
Yes.
Maybe you move him to third too. I don't know. Just
I just think that there's a high standard on him because he was a first-round draft choice.
And they chose not to go after the shortstop market.
They didn't go into the shortstop market, right? And I thought they should have signed Corey Seager.
I thought so too.
Right? I was a big one for that because they needed back then really a great lefty hitter who also could hit for power and had proven he could play in the biggest moments. Okay, 29 teams didn't sign Corey Seager, including the team that had him. Okay, the Dodgers, who are a great run organization.
World Series MVP after he signed too.
Yes. And look, the Dodgers are still doing to the point where Mookie Betts is playing shortstop. So it isn't like they solved it completely, and we love that organization, right? We think they make good decisions a lot. But Andy Volpe's a good player.
Okay.
I don't know that he's very good, but guys who play every day and have value, Ryan, are very valuable. The guys who don't force you to know who your backup players are valuable. If the Yankees try to get Peraza through waivers, they might actually get him through waivers. It's he's not the idea that he would just go out there and be fine. I'm not sure that's true.
Okay.
If you told me they traded for a real shortstop, whatever, but I just think that the guy who they haven't trusted to do anything could go out there and cover for it. Volpe could be more. I think he actually needs to be more.
He does.
I think he needs to get 20 hitting coaches out of his head and needs to decide, who am I offensive profile-wise. And I think he has been hurt by the cookie-cutter idea that the best thing you could always do is is pull a fly ball in the air. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, there is that the data will show pulled fly balls have the greatest result in the sport. But what that never takes into account is, what if you're not good at that? And Anthony Volpe does not play in a stadium that would reward pulled fly balls by a guy who is not Judge or Stanton kind of guy who will hit it easily. As we saw the last home run he hit, he could get him to right field at Yankee Stadium. I think he's a better overall hitter when he uses the whole field. That is against the data, but that is what would work for him. Mm-hmm. If he played at Fenway Park, I'd say pull the ball in the air. He doesn't play at Fenway Park. He is, to your point, his size, right? Like, Alex Bregman has played in front of the Crawford boxes and in front of now the Green Monster. His pull swing makes sense.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure that Anthony Volpe opening up his hips and trying to drive every pitch in the air to the pull side makes sense. I think if he got everyone out of his head and said, I'm going to be a good hitter and hit like the guy who was in the postseason last year, who, by the way, was not fully rewarded for everything he did. He hit the hell out of the ball, and he hit a bunch of line drives right at the right fielder. And you could say, well, if he had pulled it in the air, you'll get rewarded if you hit the ball like that. Keep hitting the ball like that. I think there's a better hitter in him. I think he's got to decide who that hitter is. He's still 23. He has not fully developed into everything he will be. Mm-hmm. And I think dismissing him off of 1,300 plate appearances when he's brought the Yankees won an AL title with him at shortstop last year, and he was a very valuable player to that, and then a great player in the postseason. I think you're giving up on Dansby Swanson 3 years into his career.
We'll see. We'll see. I have my opinion. It is what it. We can disagree. That's what's great about sports is we have these opinions. I think I've seen enough from Anthony Volpe. I think this is what he is, but we'll see if he can develop. And
I encourage you, go look at the first 3 years of Swanson's career, and go look at the first 3 years of Bernie Williams' career before he developed. Bernie got really strong as he got older.
I don't know if Volpe has the frame to put more muscle on.
No, but I don't think that's the kind of hitter he should be.
No, I know.
But he will.
Don't you agree that
he'll get stronger?
But don't you agree that the scouting report is out on him? The high fastballs, like he can't hit the high fastball.
I get it. I think he can. He has to make a decision what kind of hitter he wants to be.
Well, he's also swinging the hell out of the bat.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You have to decide what kind of hitter you want to be. Like situationally, if you want to try in counts every once in a while to pull a ball, I got it.
Yeah.
But that is not I don't think that's the hitter he should be.
He's going back to what he did his rookie year. He's trying to swing as hard as he can. He's swinging out of his shoes. His bat speed is the highest it was since his rookie year.
Yeah.
Joel, we do have to finish up, though, with Joel's notebook. So yesterday was another doubleheader for the Yanks, and I am interested because in between these games, they have a 30-minute press conference with Boone and Fried, and I wanted to get your perspective, obviously, since you've been in the media forever now. It's those doubleheaders. That's
a nice way of saying I'm old. Go ahead.
No. You've covered a ton of doubleheaders. It's not a day-night doubleheader. It's back-to-backs. Do you find actual value in those in-between press conferences, those 30 minutes? Or do you think we could be better, I'm not saying we, but you could be better served writing your Game 1 story up in the press box and then, hey, after Game 2, I can go ask all the questions I need about Game 1 and Game 2?
Yeah, so this is not a simple answer without, like, a journalism class breaking out here, because there is no writing, like, let's just deal with the New York Post. Yeah. Our first deadline, except for on Saturday, when I would have to write after Game 1, is like 8 o'clock is our first deadline. So I would have value in going down and freshly getting what's in the mind of the manager for what's in Game 1, and also usually like the Game 1 starter, or like who might not even still be in the clubhouse after the game ends. Remember, there's different needs. There's a wire service guy covering this for Associated Press. He's writing a game story with quotes if he can. So he needs it. Radio people, TV people who might not stay for the second game but need to cut up some tape.
Right.
They need it. And by the way, it's not hurting anybody. It isn't like between games where like a gala event is breaking out. You got 30, 35, 40 minutes. It's the manager comes in quickly. maybe even provides like a detail about a lineup that makes you think like, oh, I've decided to start this guy in game 2. Here's why. I guess you could wait until after game 2. But like, then you'll have 18 innings. The manager doesn't stick around forever. So like, you're going to get like 5 to 8 questions. So like, you're going to get 5 to 8 questions. You don't have to ask those questions after the game. Again, the starter isn't around. So yeah, I don't. And that's also assuming you got a 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock start, right? But yeah, I mean, the question I would ask is, who's it hurting?
Right. No, I think.
And it's helping some reporters.
Yeah.
Because they have to file
Yeah.
something. Usually more audio video people are filing something off of game 1, right? Like the 5 o'clock newscast, their sport thing. They're not going to have the second game result. But in the first game, and Max Fried said after game 1, my curveball was really working. My curveball was really, whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's helping.
Yeah.
And there's no downside.
No, listen, I think what I'm asking is you're providing an aspect that many people don't know about. That going in between the games and getting those quotes, like you said, and getting the answers from game 1. It's different if you're watching because it's not a day-night doubleheader.
And also, usually when things are like fresh and like think about if there was a controversial call or decision
Absolutely.
in game 1 and you've got the manager and then like game 2 turns out to be something completely different. It does feel weird like 6 hours later to say to the manager, hey, remember at about 1:30 this afternoon when you did this? And he's like, oh yeah, like, and usually it's better to get somebody closer to event. Their memory is better and their emotions are more tied to it. Like the more you get distant from any event, you're like, oh wait, was that first and third? Well, so I look at it as there's no downside and there's some upside.
Joel, you're the man. Thank you as always for breaking down Yankees baseball for us.
Thank you for inviting me to your house.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot more fun in here. It's a creative space, but listen, man, it's always good to talk ball with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we continue to go along this season and see what happens with this Yankees baseball team.
All right, Ryan. Thanks. All the best.
You're the man.